Hi, today in this video, we are going to be talking about the science of binge eating and what is actually going on in the brain when you binge eat. So if you've ever wondered why you can't stop binge eating, that is what I'm going to share with you today. Hi, I'm Brittany Watkins. I am known for my cutting-edge methods that put an end to emotional eating and binge eating by reprogramming the brain. Over the last 15 years, I've made it my mission to find the best, most advanced methods to overcome self-sabotage and emotional eating. Along the way, I cured my own battle with weight, and I've helped thousands of women do the same. So most studies show that binge eating comes from lowered levels of dopamine in the brain. And while that may be true, I've actually discovered an entirely different reason that people binge eat. So over at BrittanyWatkins.com and in my weight loss coaching practice, I've been helping people cure binge eating up to 85 to 90%. So, just so you know, I personally struggled with this problem, and I've been studying this topic for more than 20 years. So I'm about to drop some knowledge on you that has taken me over 20 years and working with thousands of women to discover. All right, are you ready? So binge eating, in my philosophy and in the work that we do in my coaching practice, is actually caused by traumatic past experiences. And it can be cured by applying an 8-step method that I developed in the years of working with this exact issue, which I'll tell you about more at the end of this video. So when I say past traumatic experiences, this can be anything from a divorce, a big move, bullying, a younger brother or sister being born, abuse, like anything from actual physical abuse to sexual abuse, anything that causes PTSD, and something even as simple as a loud noise or a glass breaking. So that experience gets stored in our memory center part of our brain called the hippocampus. So let me explain to you how the hippocampus works. I've got my little handy sheet here. So the hippocampus is located in the temporal lobe of the brain, and it's understood to be the center of emotion and memory in the autonomic nervous system. The amygdala is located in the temporal lobe as well, and its primary role is processing memory, making decisions, and having emotional reactions. So you might have also heard people talk about the amygdala when they're referring to the fight or flight response. So this is what happens when something bad happens to us, so like somebody yelling at us, for instance. The first time that we have that experience, we usually will have a reaction to it, right? You'll either yell at them, fight, you'll either run away, flight, or you freeze. You just kind of stay there stuck while they're yelling at you. Well, now what happens is this memory gets stored in the hippocampus. And brain imaging devices actually shows us that when the memory is negative, there is a little groove or a divot, which is what all these little dots are, okay, in the hippocampus. So fast forward to today. So maybe you have a new boss and their voice is similar to that person who yelled at you when you were a kid. Well, every time you talk to this person, you're going to find yourself eating or feeling nervous or having some sort of emotional response. See, that groove, this groove in your hippocampus gets triggered, and what it does is it sends a signal to the amygdala, which is the body's alarm system, and it tells your body to respond. This is at this point is when you start to go reach for something. You look for food, you look for chocolate, you look for pizza, right? So you're feeling stressed out because some negative memory is triggering your emotional response. So, and this is happening all the time. Think about how many traumatic things have happened in your life, even if it's just something as simple as a glass breaking or somebody yelling at you, okay? So all the time that you're experiencing these past events, this is what's making you feel stressed, and this is also what's causing you to eat emotionally. And most of the time, you won't even remember what happened to you way back then. You'll just think, well, gosh, why can't I stop eating? You'll have no idea that something from the past is actually triggering you. All right, so now how do you heal this? I bet that's the question you're asking yourself right now. Well, traditional addiction therapy will ask you to stay with the feelings of the compulsion. So they'll ask you, how do you feel right now, as a way of making peace with the feelings of or the desire for the food. And I'm sure you probably try that method just like I did to stop binge eating, and you know that that rarely works. So I told you in the beginning of this video that I know about this because I personally struggled with binge eating for over 15 years, and I tried all of the methods in the world and nothing ever worked for me. And then one day when I was eating emotionally, I decided to try something new. I asked myself how old I was, and I got the number 8. And then I asked myself another series of questions, and a memory that I had previously buried came up to the surface. and using some alternative psychological methods that I've been trained in that actually release serotonin to the brain, I began to work through these memories and a few others that came up as well. And after about 15 minutes, I looked down at the chocolate bar that I was dying to eat earlier, and I didn't have one desire for it. So of course I thought I hit the jackpot, but I wasn't even really sure if it worked. I didn't know if it was just me. So I started working with it. I started using it with my students, and they got amazing results as well. We were all like curing our binge eating and our desires for food totally permanently. Students of mine started to see their weight totally drop off, and they were feeling just more free than ever. The other side benefit was that their depression was lifting. They were happy for no reason, because what's happening is we're healing early childhood traumas. And if you know anything about traumas, negative things that have happened to you in the past, they just kind of weigh you down, and they cause you to not be as happy as you can, or not as successful as you can be. So as we started going through and healing all these traumas, people started to notice these side benefits of just feeling amazing. So basically, that's the long explanation on how you can cure binge eating, is that you have to actually go to the early childhood wound that caused the indentation in the hippocampus. And then actually by using a series of techniques that reprogram the memories, the fight or flight response, brain imaging devices have shown us, here I'll draw this for you, that when we use these methods, we send a flood of serotonin to the part of the brain that's been affected. So we think about the traumatic memory. Hopefully you can see my screen here. We think about the traumatic memory. We send, using alternative methods, we send a flood of serotonin to this part of the brain, and it severs the connection. So normally this sends a connection to the amygdala telling you to have a fight or flight response. Well, what this serotonin does is it actually severs that connection. So no longer are you going to have an emotional response to something negative that happened to you. So what happens when that happens? You stop eating. You stop feeling the desire for the food. You stop feeling compulsive feelings of wanting to eat and suppress those emotional responses. So the hardest part of this process is finding the memory that's causing the binge eating behavior. But with this technique that I developed called echo tapping, it's just an 8-step system that you can easily use to access these memories and then heal it in a matter of minutes. If you're a seasoned tapper, traditional tapping doesn't work for binge eating. I worked with this for so long. I actually started working with the method when I was 15 years old. So it's a really long time to be working with this, and I've never found traditional tapping to work for this particular addiction. And so in my work of working with other people, when I discovered this echo tapping method, it's a spin on traditional tapping. It takes a bit more of an explanation than I have time for right now. So what I'm going to be doing is, in a few weeks, I'm actually going to be teaching a class on this step-by-step method. So if you want to have an experience with this, if you want to learn how to do it for yourself, I want you to just click the link above or below this video and register for a spot in the class. Okay? Make sure you share the love. If you like this video, if you know anybody else that's struggling with binge eating, with emotional eating, make sure you share this video with them too. And also make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel or page so that you're the first to know about all the new tips and tricks and classes about overcoming binge and emotional eating. Take care. Sending you lots of love.